to do in emergency situations. So let's go on and jump into it. Today's training is going to cover car accidents, earthquakes, fire, flood, gas and carbon leak, hazardous materials, terrorism, civil unrest, lockdown, thunderstorms, tornadoes, utility failure, winter storms, and then we've got a few resources for some other threats. Remember that today's training is for worst case scenarios, not everyday life. We just want you to be prepared for anything. So as we jump in, starting off with car accidents, if you're in a car accident, we want you to remain in the vehicle and do not move outside of the vehicle. That way, if anybody is injured, that those injuries stay minor. If the car is operational, it should be moved to the side of the road. And then once you're over to safety, call 911, call the participant's family, and then call us here at Lord's Legacy to let us know what's going on. In the next one here, for earthquakes, if you're indoors, we want you to take cover under a sturdy object in the corner of the room and cover your head. If outdoors, move away from the buildings, trees, street lights, utility wires, again, avoiding things that might fall on you. If you're in a car, we want you to stay in the car, stop in the vehicle on the side of the road, doing your best to avoid stopping under things that may fall, like buildings, bridges, trees, and utility wires. If you're trapped under debris, do not move or kick up dust. We want you to remain under there, remain calm, and call 911 if possible. You can make some noise, but don't make loud yelling sounds. We don't want things going down into your lungs, but tap on a pole, tap on some wood so that rescuers can be able to find you. After, if you are injured, do not move. If you are not injured, we want you to check that the area is safe and then move out of the debris and stay away from damaged areas and do not re-enter buildings until they have been cleared. Once you're to safety, call the participant's family, Lord's Legacy, and if necessary, call 911. For the next one here, we're going for a fire emergency. We want you to follow the RACE method. That's rescue, alert, contain, extinguish. So you want to rescue anybody in the immediate area. If you're trained to do so, we want to alert others of the danger and call 911. We want to contain the area by closing all doors that contains all the smoke in the fire. And then finally, extinguish small fires. So when you're extinguishing a small fire, we want you to use a fire extinguisher following the PASS method. You want to pull the pin in the handle, aim at the base of the fire, not at the top of the fire, aim down at the base where it's burning. You want to squeeze the handle to release the agent and then sweep from side to side until the fire is out. Once the fire is out, give us a call 911 if needed, and call the participant's family. Always remember also to not use water on a grease fire. It will only make the fire bigger. With floods, we want you to pay attention to lower areas where flash flooding typically occurs. You need to move to higher ground if you're in one of those lower areas. Please be listening to the radio and emergency broadcast systems, whether that's on radio, TV, or on your phone. Do not walk or drive through moving water and or flooded areas. And then once to safety, if you're in those areas, you need to call the participant's family, call Lord's Legacy, and then call 911 if necessary. With a gas or carbon leak, if a gas or carbon leak were to occur, leave the building and through the safest evacuation exit. You want to call 911 and report the leak and follow all instructions. Once you're to safety, call the participant's family, Lord's Legacy, and then if necessary, 911. With hazardous materials, if you come into contact with any sort of hazardous materials, we want you to call the Poison Control Center. Their phone number is 1-800-222-1222. Again, make sure to call once you're away from whatever particular poison control or hazardous material that you're from and call the participant's family and Lord's Legacy. With bloodborne pathogen and infection control, the best protection is to prevent. So protective gloves and masks should always be worn when dealing with bodily fluids. Skin should not be exposed, and then clean with bleach and water any area that may have blood, and then dispose of any of the materials you use to clean up with in a biohazard container. That's going to be those orange containers that are in houses, or if not, some sort of plastic bottle that's going to contain all of the pathogens. In addition, call 911 and report to Lord's Legacy any blood exposure between a participant and you, or you and a participant, or just anybody in general. With terrorism and civil unrest, we want you to always be aware of your surroundings and environment and leave if you are ever uncomfortable. With everybody together, obviously, for all of these things, we want everybody sticking together no matter what. We want to pay attention to serious threats presented through the radio, TV, and alerts on your phone. And once you are to safety, if you're in one of those situations, you need to call the participant's family, Lord's Legacy, and if necessary, 911. With a bomb threat, again, you want to be aware of your surroundings and environment. If you are the one that's being called, you want to record your call if possible and get as much information as possible about when, where, why, how, and then contacting 911 after and giving that information to them. Once you are away from that area or that situation, we want you to call the participant's family, Lord's Legacy, and again, 911. With the lockdown protocol, this is for the event of an intruder. We want you to move into a room that locks from the inside with your participant, if possible. And then once you're inside that room, you want to barricade the door and then call 911. You do not want to leave that room until given clearance from the police after the building is secured. Again, once you're to safety, after all of that is over, we want you to call the participant's family and Lord's Legacy. With a thunderstorm, you're again listening to those radio emergency broadcast systems, whether that's on TV, radio, or phone. If you're inside, we want you to move away from windows and make sure that doors going outside are closed securely. If you're driving, we want you to move to the side of the road, not under things like trees, street lights, and utility wires. Again, those are things that can be hit by lightning, and use blinkers so that others can see you in the inclement in the weather. Remember, whenever you're driving, to have your headlights on if you're driving in the rain, no matter what time of day it is. And then once to safety, we want you to call the participant's family, Lord's Legacy, and then 911 if possible. With a tornado, it's very similar to a thunderstorm. We want you to listen for those emergency broadcast systems, staying inside, moving away from windows and doors. We want you to move to the innermost part of the lowest level of the home. If you're driving, we want you to pull off to the side of the road, not under trees and streetlights and utility wires, again, things that could fall over, and use your blinkers so that others can see you. You would then get out of the vehicle and go down into a ditch or a lower area of the land where the tornado is going to have less effect on you. Do not try to outrun a tornado in a car or otherwise. And then once you're to safety, we want you to call the participant's family, Lord's Legacy, and then 911. With a utility failure, if you smell fumes or gas from a gas stove, turn it off immediately if it's possible. We then want you to move to a designated area outside of the building or the home. And then once you're to safety, call 911 and the participant's family and Lord's Legacy. Beneath here, we have for each county, the Jessamine County and the Fayette County, and all of their phone numbers for all of the different utilities. For a winter storm, this is similar to thunder or tornado. We want you to listen to the radio emergency broadcast systems. We want you to remain indoors with your participants and staying warm. If utilities fail, we want you to call those utility companies that were on the slide right before this. We want you to stay in communication with your participants' family and Lord's Legacy. And if inclement weather is expected, as if we know the storm is coming, we want you to keep your phone charged, dress appropriately for the cold weather, pack some meals, and then plan ahead if you're needing to travel during the inclement weather, because remember, it's going to be very slippery outside and people are going to be driving a lot slower. Some resources for other threats include the Red Cross, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the National Association of School Psychologists, 0 to 3, and then Knowledge Learning. After all this, I want you to take a good deep breath. We're finished up with training here. Remember that this training is for worst case scenarios, not everyday life. We want you to be prepared for anything. And now that you've finished your training, please fill out the training form indicating that you have been trained for all of these different emergencies. Thanks, Lord's Legacy family, and hope you're having a good rest of your day.